Well, hello and welcome to episode 95 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here as always with Michaela. Michaela, last week we did a musical and we are coming with some more musical action this week. Everyone out there, I apologize in advance for any more singing that Michaela might be up to, but what else have you been up to, Michaela? Are you enjoying your fall so far?
I am enjoying my fall. I have to say, anybody who missed the lobby bar this week needs to go back and check it out because that lobby
Mm,
bar drink is amazing. It's a pumpkin spice latte martini, and it's awesome. So I've had
yes.
at least one of those since we've talked, um, and it's
Perfect.
amazing. I also want to say, Drink the Movies was really happy to go and support a local tap house. It's called the
Mm,
Waxhaw Tap House down in Waxhaw, North Carolina. I say down, it's really north of me. I don't understand how that works, but
kind of. Our state line is weirdly drawn. Weirdly
it
drawn.
is. It is. Yeah. So it's really to the west of me, but either way, it is amazing. They have some really fun drinks there. They also have Prosecco on tap, which is something that Michaela really loves.
Mm,
And it was celebrating Union County's very first Pride kind
oh,
of festival that they did this last weekend. So anybody that is near, if that's something that's near and dear to your heart, it's certainly near and dear to the hearts of us here at Drink the Movies. So we wanted to go and support. And I will say they have some really, really tasty IPAs. I'm not an IPA fan, but
mm,
they have they're a tap house, so they don't make their beers, but they had a ton of really neat IPAs that you can make a flight into, as well as a bunch of other stuff. So go check it out. That was cool. So that's what I did. I did a lot of that. I did
yeah.
not watch a lot of
Mm,
movies, but I did a lot
yeah.
of that. What about you?
Yeah, that is fair, and yeah, definitely a good cause, and happy to support them and be a part of that. So glad you made it out there for that this weekend. What did I do? I spent about 14 hours in the car with your husband this weekend, Michaela, because we drove from our homes to all the way to Nashville, Tennessee, so we could take in some music. Went and saw the Pearl Jam show. Your husband is a big, huge fan, so it was pretty a fun time to be able to go with him and take all that in. We spent a little bit of time, walking through all the fun like bar area there around the stadium in Nashville. Got in some good drinks, saw some good bands, and then saw the concert. And then the next morning, we loaded up on breakfast, loaded ourselves back up into the car, and headed home. So yeah, like you haven't had much of a chance to get anything watched this week, but we're gonna have to rectify that here now that the movie release schedule is getting full and getting fun, and yeah, just going to start getting behind on our Oscar watch. So but for now, Michaela, what we really need to do, we sang and danced, we hugged last week. Today we're going to sing and dance. But there's going to be more bite to it. We're going to have some I don't know, we're going to have some contests to win. We're going to have some enemies that we have to slay in the musical world. So we're going to need to take a quick break because we are going to need a cocktail that gets our I don't know, it gets us going for the music to come. So we're going to
Yep.
take a quick break and we'll be right back with this week's cocktail.
So this week's cocktail comes from Chiquita Latina Fun blog, which sounds amazing and fun,
Hmm.
right?
That does sound fun.
And
Right in the name. Right in the name.
yeah, absolutely. And so this drink kind of comprises a lot of things that you would find at a college party, and it would be handed out to all of folks who don't perhaps have a connoisseur's taste in alcohol, because this is delicious and it's simple. But it's a bit on the sweet side. So we're just going to talk about it. It's called our Ginger's Jiggle Juice. And if any of you
Hmm.
have seen the amazing Pitch Perfect, you know exactly what I'm talking about because that ginger, she needed some jiggle juice.
That's right. Yeah, they are whipping these up here as we're having a party. Everyone is welcoming themselves to the a cappella groups as we get into college, and we're having a good time here. And we are going to whip one of these up for everyone. So what you're going to do in your shaker tin, you're going to put 1.5 ounces of vodka, 3 ounces of pineapple juice, a half ounce of blood orange syrup, and some ice. And you're going to shake that. You're going to strain it into a glass with some ice. You can opt for the red Solo cup like we did in our picture, which is good, for parties. Or you can, do it into whatever with some ice, and then you're going to top that off with about 1-ish ounces of Sprite. That helps with the jiggle, I guess. The Sprite really
Right.
does.
It jiggles the alcohol as it,
Wow.
you know. Yeah, right? Doesn't it?
That's
No?
that's right. That's right. Now, Michaela, you said not no discerning taste. These are things that you would find on a college campus. I went to college. I never had any blood orange syrup in my dorm room. I never had any pineapple juice, probably in my
Oh
dorm room.
no.
Uh,
Well,
I
okay.
the vodka and maybe and the Sprite, but
No, because everybody thought that a Mai Tai was just uh pineapple juice and rum. I mean, it
mm,
wasn't until legitimately, it wasn't until this podcast that I really understood that in order for a Mai Tai to really be considered a Mai Tai, it needed orgeat syrup. And so yeah,
mm.
pineapple, that's a thing for freshman girls. Yeah, that was definitely something we would add to anything and everything. Now the blood orange syrup, I think that the reason why we made this was made with blood orange is to give it a nice red look or kind of an orangey look to it. But that's not going to matter in your solo cup. It's not going to matter after midnight on a college campus. All that matters is it tastes good. And I have to say, this one really does.
This one really does. Let's talk about that blood orange syrup for a minute, because I made it. You could probably find it, maybe, I don't know, at a well-stocked grocery store. You might be able to find something like that, or an orange syrup, something like that. But pretty simple to do. You just what I did was I took a half a cup of just freshly squeezed blood orange juice, and then I added a half a cup of water to that, so I had a cup in total volume there, and then added a cup of sugar and just made a simple syrup. But I just sort of kind of swapped out part of the water for some blood orange juice, straight from the orange there, as it were. And I really like doing that. If you're going to be doing any sort of like fruit syrup, is to do that, cut it with a little bit of water, because if you just do straight sugar in the juice, I find that it gets a little bit like astringent tasting, but the water kind of gives it a little bit of a buffer as you're heating that up to the sugar. And I also wouldn't take it all the way up to a boil. I just kind of warm it up until you get that sugar dissolved. I wouldn't really get that up to like a rolling boil, because you're gonna
Okay.
pull out, yeah, some of that abrasive tones of your juice. So
Sure. Sure. No, and that was it was beautiful and it was very tasty. So we need to make more of that. Um I found this drink to be really simple because it's only a few ingredients
mhm.
and it was surprisingly good. I mean, I like a good pineapple juice based drink anyway, but I mean, it there's no coconut in it, but it's very islandy. It feels like
Mhm.
I should be on a beach somewhere. It should not be fall, and yet it feels
Yeah.
also very reminiscent of a keg party.
That's
It's
right. Yeah,
very nice.
you feel like you should be at the Lincoln Center singing some tunes. But yeah, this is a good one. Just skip the vodka if you wanted to do like a mocktail version of this. That would be good too. So do that. And yeah, take that, because you're going to need some hydration. You're going to want to keep the vocal cords fresh. If you're going to college and you're going to join the number one a cappella group in the land. So that's what we're going to do. So let's mix up another one of these, Michaela. We will take a quick break and we will be right back to chat about this week's film, Pitch Perfect.
Spoiler warning for Pitch Perfect. If you've not yet seen Pitch Perfect, then I excuse you because you've had
Yeah.
10 years to do it and we're going to talk about it. And if you don't like it, then you can just get on out of here.
Oh my gosh. For everyone listening at home, Michaela has a bunch of sass going on right now. I'm gonna excuse myself right out of the podcast now. I'm just kidding. But yeah, Pitch Perfect came out 10 years ago. It was released on October the 5th, 2012. So happy 10th birthday to Pitch Perfect. This one was directed by Jason Moore, who directed this film called Sisters, and that's about it. Some TV stuff, but got his big break here in this one. And it stars, of course, Anna Kendrick as the too cool for school Beca, and a whole bunch of other people that fill up these a cappella groups as we make our way into college. And we're going to have to talk about them as we get into the Bells and the Treblemakers and all of those people. So, Michaela, no Oscars for this one. No Oscars.
No Oscars for it, but I will say this falls into an amazing soundtrack of the decade.
Mm,
If you were young and an impressionable person when this film came out, everybody loves the kind of mashups. It's very much known for the kind of the playfulness between all of the different kind of sounds that you can make on. And remember, well, maybe you don't remember, I don't know, a cappella music and a cappella groups like were a thing for like 10 years before this film even came out. It was like it took all these schools by storm, and it was like all over
mhm.
like America's Got Talent and Britain's Got Talent. It was all this really neat thing. And so the soundtrack to this, everybody seems to really enjoy. And so you're right. this isn't an Oscar winning performance. However, it does star Anna Kendrick, who's one of the only, she's one of the youngest people, or if not the youngest person to have been nominated for a Tony, an Emmy, and an Oscar. Did you know that?
I did not know that, but
Yeah.
kudos to you, Miss Kendrick, because yeah, she is excellent in this, and she is an excellent singer, and she does a good job of leading her way throughout this film. As I mentioned, the Too Cool for School, Becca. No Oscars. It did win 2 MTV Movie Awards, so that's pretty good. That counts for something.
I mean, that's basically the same thing. See, it's the Oscars for movie music,
That's
right? No,
the real Oscars. The MTV Movie Awards are the real Oscars, I think,
that's right. That's
is
right.
what they are. But yeah, so let's get into this thing a little bit. There's a lot of singing and dancing. So as you know, I said at the
I'm going
top,
to try and control myself.
I will keep Michaela at bay as best as possible. But she is her own woman, and if she wants to sing, then she's going to sing, and that is exactly what has happened at the beginning of the movie, because we are at the Lincoln Center in New York City. We've got the what is it? The ICCA finals going on, which is a real thing. It's the International Collegiate or International Championship of Collegiate Acapella. Of course, everyone knows that. They're there. We're watching some groups of kids get together, sing some songs. And the first one we are seeing is, of course, the Treblemakers, reigning champions, champions of the world, best a cappella group in town, probably. But they do have someone pretty awesome on their team, and that is Adam Devine, who is playing Bumper.
Yeah. Adam Devine, he's amazing, but the character he plays, not so amazing. Has a great voice,
Kind of
got great
amazing.
moves.
Pretty amazing still.
He's okay, but
He's
he's
pretty good.
not a nice guy, right? He's very self-centered. He's a narcissist.
Mm.
He's not a nice guy in this, but you know what I feel like is he is the one who shows the most growth over the trifecta of all the pitch perfects, right?
Oh, I don't know. We're only talking about this first
We're
one.
only talking about this one, so
He experiences no growth. He starts off as a jerk. He ends as a jerk as he leaves his team high and dry. But that's okay. You know who is sticking it out for their team? That is, of course, Aubrey, played by the amazing Anna Camp. She is there. This is her junior year. She is very excited to be at the ICCA finals. A little bit too excited, though. Gets a little bit of nerves, gets a little bit of stage fright. I don't know, but yaks all over the front row. It is a bad look. Not a good look for Aubrey. Not a good look for the Bellas.
that's correct. It is not a good look. Now, one of the things that I love, kind of the bookends of these, they become tokens of the show in general, and that is Gail and John. They are the
Mm.
SCCA commentators, right? As if we're watching something. They are judges. They're the MCs. They talk about their lives and how it was changed by a cappella music. And John is played by the amazing John Michael Higgins. Gail is played by Elizabeth Banks, who also helped produce this movie.
Mm. Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
I love their back and forth because John is a complete chauvinist. But Elizabeth, Gail, she's got some, she's pretty feisty as well. I just love them too. And you see them a couple of times throughout the show, kind of given their commentary on what's going on between the Barton Bellas and the Treblemakers, which is always fun.
That's right. That's right. Yes. So this pair are real high on the Troublemakers. You know, nothing makes a girl feel more like a woman than a man who sings like a boy, says Gail. But then, of course, the Bellas come on and we take a left turn into Snoozeville. As I said, Aubrey yaks all over the front 3 rows. The Bellas obviously do not win, and we are headed to our next school year. We see Becca. She is listening to some sweet tunes on her headphones. She is walking through campus. It is for her first day. We get a look at Jesse, who's played by Skylar Aston, coming in, singing some tunes in the car. He locks eyes with Becca. You think that's probably going to mean something later on, and spoiler alert, it does. But we are on to our first day of school. Do you remember your first day of school, Michaela? Freshman
My
year,
first day of
walking onto
college.
campus?
I do. I was living on campus at the time, so but I remember the day I moved in. That is for sure. And it's interesting because I had parents that helped me move in. Becca does not. She came in a cab. Like she took herself there, and her father actually shows up at her dorm. She's met the worst dorm roommate ever.
Mm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Jimmy Lynn, I think, or Janie Lynn is her name. and sorry, Kimmy Jin. Kimmy Jin is her name, and she's played by the amazing Jin Hee Jung. I'm hoping that I said that right. She's amazing because she obviously does not like Beca, but
Mm.
she's not gonna be outwardly rude. She's just gonna ignore her and pretend that she doesn't exist. She like dusts her gold plated bonsai tree or something. And she's got all this feng shui going on her side of the dorm. Becca's like just trying to like put her book bag down. Her father comes in and he's all excited, and she's like, I don't want to be here, I hate school, I want to go make music in Los Angeles. Dad, you're such a drag. You're such a drag. Remember those days when the
You're so,
parents were such a drag because they just wanted you to get an education
they
instead
just
of go live your dreams?
they just wanted you to get an education. That's right. He wants her to get an education. He wants her to show some involvement in the school. Maybe he will help her get to Los Angeles, but first she's got to buckle down and do the school thing. So if she's going to be stuck at school, might as well have a wander up through, all of the groups and organizations and things that you have going on there. And of course, apparently, the school that we're at, what is even the name of the school? Barden University. They are known for being the a cappella center of the universe, basically, because of course you have the Treblemakers, you have the Bellas, but you also have the BU harmonics, you have the high notes. She's walking through. Becca's getting a hard sell from Chloe, who's played by Brittany Snow, saying you should totally come be a member of the Bellas. And Becca is like, no, acapella, that's lame. I make my own sweet music out of other people's sweet music. I can't be bothered with your acapella. I'm out of here. No dice for me. But we meet Rebel Wilson, who plays Fat Amy. She's into being in the acapella group.
That's right. And this was the first time I think I ever saw Rebel Wilson. Instantly fell in love with her. She's amazing. She's so funny and confident. And so they're like, hey, maybe you can match pitch. And she totally can't match pitch. I don't even know what that means because I'm not a music person, but it's a pretty funny scene. What she does lack in like technical giftedness, she makes up for in her attitude and self-confidence. And we love that about Fat Amy. But Anna Kendrick, Beca, she ends up going to take a shower and everything changes. Imagine that. You're
That's
taking
right.
a shower and
That's
yeah, so she,
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, everything changes in the shower as you do. So yeah, so Becca is just getting along at school. She's there, she's doing like an internship at the radio station. And we can see, we've seen a couple of times she's just hanging out in her dorm room. She has some sweet headphones on. She's just mixing some beats, making these mashups for herself, and yeah, doing this kind of part-time gig at the campus radio station, which is exactly where Jesse is working. So you're seeing some sparks start to fly. Jesse is way into Becca. Becca is way standoffish with everyone. Her dad, Jesse, the acapella groups, doesn't like anyone. But yeah, one fateful morning, you go in to take a shower, as one does. There's, two people in the shower stall next to you. You don't worry about that because it's college, whatever. College is going to do what college does. But you get in the shower, and then Chloe totally busts in because she hears you singing a sweet song, and she's like, I knew you were a good singer. Come be in our acapella group, please.
yeah, and it's really well done because it's uncomfortable and it's hilarious, but it's also not super like, I mean, obviously they're in the shower and there's all sorts of connotations to how, they're both naked and Becca's uncomfortable. But it's very light in that, Chloe's like, hey, just come, you can harmonize, like you really should just come try out. And so of course, then we move to the montage of all of the acapella groups are trying out. They have this one giant kind of tryout extravaganza. So you have about 30 to 50 people singing
Mm-hmm.
Since You've Been Gone like 75 times.
By
And
the American Idol, Kelly Clarkson.
that's right, by the American Idol. And it's really funny and really great. So you get people like, Rebel Wilson's Fat Amy. She's not amazing, but she has some great confidence. You have Esther Dean, who's one of my favorite actresses of all time. I love her and I wish she was in more stuff because I think she's totally downplayed in this film. She
Mm-hmm.
plays the amazing Cynthia Rose, and she's got like this amazing, like raspy, deep voice that's like super awesome. But there's a bunch of others that do this montage of Since You've Been Gone, and it's actually really fun. People are trying to dance around, and everybody kind of starts to pick, who they want. And so of course you have the Treblemakers, and they're an all boy a cappella team. There's the Barton Bellas, they're all girl, and then there's two others that are kind of mixed. So,
Hmm.
everybody kind of ends up in their own camp. And then at the end of the day, when they get, I guess, inaugurated, or there's like a ceremony where they like the
There's like an
Barton Bellas, they
initiation
drink.
ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary. They're like, we will drink the blood of our past people. And Becca's like, ew, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's probably my favorite part of the movie because it's just so like over the top and camp that they're doing this giant like initiation ritual. Yeah, where they're drinking the blood from past members and they're like all like blindfolded and they have to go through and they have to swear a solemn vow. The Bellas are not allowed to have any sort of relationship with the Treblemakers. They are our arch enemies. We do not want to be seen. We don't want to associate. We definitely don't want to fall in love with any Treblemakers. Hate those guys. Those guys are jerks. But yeah, after the initiation, they go to the party, and that's where you drink your Jiggle juice. Of course, you're there, you're having a good time, and you start to see the first signs that some sparks are starting to fly, some illegal sparks between Beca and Jesse.
That's right. And I gotta say, Jesse, he's like the most confident character ever. He's just like, hey, you're an aca girl and I'm an aca boy. We're gonna have aca kids. Like, this is fate. We should just do this. And Beca thinks he's a big dork, but also really secretly loves it, as most girls would. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
but Aubrey, played by the amazing Anna Camp, she is seeing this and she is not liking it. And she doesn't like Beca. She's never liked Beca. She didn't like her from the very beginning. And so there's a lot of tension between the two because Aubrey is really trying to get them back to Lincoln Center and to make up for her throwing up and vomiting, I don't know, some weird orange pumpkin paste all
Yeah.
over people.
Too many
So she's
too many pumpkin spice martinis, I think, is what
perhaps.
the problem was. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. But she's trying to make up for that. And Becca's like, hey, we're using these really old songs. They're we're doing Turn the Beat Around and a bunch of stuff from the 80s. There's nothing on this century that's on the song list. If we mashed them up, which is Becca's specialty,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Becca's like, hey, I think we could really make something here. And it's interesting to see this dynamic because everybody else that's in a Barton Bella team agrees with Beca, but nobody really stands up for her except for Chloe. And Chloe and Aubrey kind of also clash about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're kind of the co-leaders, I guess, of the Bellas. And yeah, Chloe, she's kind of on Becca's side, but she will not stand up to Aubrey, and Aubrey's just not having any way but her own. And you mentioned they're singing all their old songs to turn the beat around. I really love that because right before that you get like this like big like practice montage where Aubrey's like, all right, you got to start like doing conditioning, and here's the playbook for how exactly we're going to win, and she like flips over the chalkboard and there's like 3,000 things written on it, which is pretty amazing. But of course, like the big one that's highlighted that says, don't mess around with the Treblemakers because we hate them. And then they go and do this gig with the Turn the Beat Around. It's so funny. They're at like a fraternity house they're performing at, and the guy just comes up to him at the end. He's like, "That was terrible. Do I still have to pay you?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And Aubrey's like devastated, and she's like, "I told you guys we were terrible. You don't listen to me." It's pretty great.
Yeah. It's pretty great. I mean, they're like, oh, she's like, you're going to add your own cardio. We are going to practice 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the first parts of practice, they're like, pa, 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 they're trying to make these sounds. They're not even like singing because it's truly a cappella. So they have to like make all the sounds with their mouths, and it's crazy.
They're doing like laps around the gym. Fat Amy's doing like horizontal running where she's just laying on the bleacher. It's pretty good. Pretty good section.
Yeah, she's my favorite for that reason alone. She's like, oh, I don't do that. It's horizontal running. But yeah, they're working hard. Aubrey's really running the team down. And they go to another kind of competition where it's called a riff off, where all four groups kind of meet together in this it's really kind of a cool scene though. It's in this old pool that is empty. And so there are people sitting up at the edge and then there are people down below because it's like this Olympic size swimming pool. And the way the riff off works is they pick a theme and you sing a song that relates to that theme. And then your song ends if somebody else sings a song with the same word. So it's kind of hard to explain. You just have to watch it, but it's probably my favorite scene
Hmm.
because the way that they all have to think about not only what song they could do, but how to create that song improvisationally is really amazing. And obviously, that's not real. I'm sure it wasn't real, but it looks really cool. It's like, man, if you could do that, how amazing would that be, right?
Yeah, that would be really cool. But yeah, of course, because then you're counting on like the other like 20 members of your a cappella group to also know all of the lyrics of that song and
And the
things.
bass notes and
And the bass
however
notes.
they need to harmonize.
Exactly. But yeah, the riff off is pretty fun. Of course, the Treblemakers win the riff off because they win everything. And they are I don't know, they probably won the ICCAs like 10,000 times. And that is what the goal is for the Bellas. They want to get back to the ICCAs. They want to get back to Lincoln Center. They want a do-over of last year's debacle. And that's what they're going to do. So now we're starting to get into kind of this section where they're doing like their regional things. They do it. They sing the same songs. Of course, you get Gail and John are be like, oh, really going out a limb here with the same songs again. Everyone looks super bored, but they do make it through the first rounds, so that's good. And you know what else is good is that Becca and Jesse are starting to spend a little bit more time together. But Becca, she commits a pretty bad sin, especially here on Drink the Movies. She doesn't like movies. Who doesn't like movies? That's what Jesse wants to know. That's what we
What?
want to know. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really sweet scene. Like I think most people who would like Jesse really fall in love at this moment because he has this backpack. He's sitting down with her under a tree on this college campus. He pulls out a candle. Like she doesn't even talk about that. He pulls out a candle and he's like, I've got a candle and I've got all these movies and I've got juice packs. And she just totally makes fun of him. She's like, I can't believe you don't have a girlfriend. You have juice packs and Rocky. And yeah, but she doesn't like movies. She doesn't like movies. She doesn't like the way the fact that they end. It's just very hard for her to stay um, kind of in tune. Maybe it's the fact that she needs more than like 3 minutes, and that's how she creates her mashups. Is that
Hmm.
she has an attention. She doesn't want to spend that much time. But Jesse's trying to tell her that it's the end of the films that matter, and he wants to be
Hmm.
someone that scores movies. That's what he wants to do, which is kind of similar to what Becca wants to do. So again, they finding some common ground, but he is really trying. And she, on one hand, likes him, but also does not want him to help her or come to her rescue at all. They're not dating. She's makes sure to tell everybody in the world that they're not dating. When Aubrey gives her a little bit of a hard time about it, she's like, look, I don't owe you anything. I don't need anybody. Leave me alone. And it's that's ultimately not good, people.
Yeah. Yeah, it is ultimately not good. And you know what else is not good? That is finishing third place in the semifinals of the ICCA regionals. That is where we are headed to next. They are on the stage. They are singing their rendition of I Saw the Sign, that Ace of Base banger, but not good enough. Everyone is not into this one. They're bored. Becca looks out at the crowd. She sees that people are like falling asleep and yawning and like laying down. She's like, I got to inject some life into this. So she's going to start singing LaRue's Bulletproof. It is a mashup moment, but Aubrey, not a big fan of this improvisation, says, what are you doing, Becca? You are out of the Bellas, and the Bellas are out of the competition because you needed to finish in the top two, and they didn't.
And they didn't. And Becca's really mad. And to be fair, this is kind of where I think it falls apart just a little bit for me because Becca asks everybody else that's on the Barton Bellas to kind of put in their 2 cents. And Fat Amy comes to her defense and says, yeah, that was really cool, but it kept us, it caught us a little bit off guard. And of course, Aubrey's like, it caught, it was completely inappropriate and totally not okay. And none of the other Barton Bellas come to her defense, even though they all agreed that, that sounded way better. And so,
That's because
Becca's
Aubrey
like,
is scary. Aubrey's
yeah,
scary.
she is
Don't
very
cross
scary.
Aubrey.
That's
Yeah.
true. She is scary. I mean, she could throw pumpkin spice latte all over you again. That would be bad.
Mm. Hmm.
And spoiler alert, she does in like 2 scenes from then. But yeah, Becca leaves. She's mad. Everybody else kind of disperses. And she tries to go and patch things up with Jesse. Jesse's not having it. He's like, look, Becca, it's not that you were mad at me. You push everyone away, and that is not okay. And, I'm really done with all this. You need to go figure it out. So what does Becca do? She talks to her dad, who she resents and doesn't like for most of the film. She goes and asks him for advice, and he gives her some really good advice because he's like, look, I, may have really hurt you when I left your mom, but I've tried to make things right with you. And, sometimes you just have to let people in and you just have to be vulnerable.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's the lesson. So, on the flip side, some very interesting things are happening with the top two groups that are competing, because of course the Treblemakers have gotten in. Bumper is just super gross about it. He's like, I'm amazing and everybody's amazing with me. And he gets the opportunity to go be some backup singer for Josh Groban or for Justin
For
Timberlake or
John Mayer, I think.
John
Yeah.
Mayer. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry. And
I love it too because all of the troublemakers, they're in like a hot tub or something, and he just walks in. He's like, "I'm gonna go be the backup singer for John Mayer. I'm out, fools." And he just leaves, and they're
yeah.
like, "Man, that
And
guy
they're
is the
like,
worst."
but aren't you going to be with us? He's like, yeah, I've won that thing like 1,800 times. I'm out. And
Yeah.
so they need somebody to come in and sing with them because they're one person down. And it's one of my favorite actors. Ben Platt plays the amazing Benji. He is Jesse's roommate, and he's a
Hmm.
little
Hmm.
strange. He loves magic. And when I say he loves magic, like, I don't, there's a scene where he like has a gerbil just like come out of his hand. And it's like, how long has the
Hmm.
gerbil been in there? And he's like, a couple of days. He's probably really hungry. I probably should fix that. He's kind of a strange person, but he has an amazing voice. And he just wasn't picked because, again, Bumper is a jerk. So,
Yeah, Bumper is not having Benji. Benji is super cool because when we first meet him at the beginning of the film, Jesse walks into his room, and his roommate is Benji. And Benji has an amazing collection of Star Wars stuff, which is awesome. So kudos to you on that, Benji. Benji can do sweet magic. He's doing magic tricks the whole time. He goes in auditions and is really good. And then also, yeah, he's Ben Platt. Who is Ben Platt? He's Dear Evan Hansen. He's
yeah,
that guy. So
he's that guy.
he's really good. So
He's really
it's
amazing.
fun. It's funny that he doesn't get in because he's like kind of he's like this oddball character, but yeah, he totally leans into it and it's totally amazing. And he's going to take the place for the Troublemakers. What about our other team that made it through to the finals? Well, bad news because they had a ringer on their team, some high school kid, and the ICCA rules say you can't have high school kids on your team. This is a college thing. You cheated, you don't get in. Bellas get in. So the Bellas get the news that they are back in, but they weren't
That's
ready.
right.
They haven't been practicing. You had Chloe. She had some nodes on the throat, decided to go ahead and get those removed, because they weren't going on anymore. She didn't know if her voice was going to be up to par, so she couldn't sing the solos anymore. So she wants to hand those over to Beca, but Aubrey says, Becca, no, Becca is out. Becca messed with the wrong lady. Don't mess with
That's right.
Aubrey. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to throw up all over the place again.
Oh, and it's so gross because
It's
one of
so
my
gross.
favorite one of my favorite characters is named Lily. She's played by Hannah Mae Lee, and she has no voice. Like, she whispers really, really low, and she whispers things like, I set fire for fun, or I did a turn in county, like something weird, and
Yeah.
no one can hear her, right? No one can hear her, but she somehow made it to the acapella group. But she ends up falling in this thing of vomit, which literally does look like pumpkin paste. And she
Hmm. Hmm.
decides to like make snow angels out of it. It's so
Yes.
gross. But they're running around, they're fighting. Of course, Fat Amy is fighting with Cynthia Rose. Uh, they're having some weird moment where I can't tell. One of them is, I think one of them is like trying to put their hands on the other in like, an adult way. I don't know. But they're running around. And that's when Becca decides to show up to
Hmm.
say that
Hmm.
she's sorry and to ask to be let back in. And so it's really this funny scene because you got total chaos going in this room, this auditorium.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. There's total chaos going. She apologizes and she asks Aubrey, and Aubrey just sits down. She's like, no, absolutely not. You're not getting back in here. But they take a poll. The Bellas, they say, Becca, welcome back. And Aubrey kind of relents then at last. And she says, okay, you can come back in. You have some good ideas. Maybe your ideas are better than just singing the same songs over and over again. Inject some life into this. Here you have the pitch pipe, and that is going to go straight into that pumpkin paste too. So there's a lot of gross stuff going on.
Yeah. So they leave the pitch pipe right where it is because they should never be using that again. And
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
they end up going and having my absolute favorite scene of this whole movie. And they go back to that pool that's empty and they sit in it because it's got great acoustics. That's why they pick it. And it just dawns on you, like, at least it
Hmm.
dawned on
Hmm.
me while they go back there and they're like, all right. So Aubrey gets to pick a song. She picks Bruno Mars, Just the Way You Are. And then Becca helps the Bellas kind of put in their downbeats and start to add the harmonizations. And then she ends up putting together a mash up with, oh, Just a Dream. That was it. By Nelly. Ooh. This song mix is really, really beautiful. So they kind of open up and they all kind of put in their own kind of bits and bobs into it, like in the way in which this is filmed, because they're going and kind of scanning from person to person. And Aubrey is finally like calmed down and she's enjoying herself and seeing and hearing what everybody else is actually capable of doing. It's really beautiful. And they finish the song and it's so strong and it's so nice. And they're like, hey, I think we can do this. But at the very, very end, Chloe's character, you think she's going to hit the high note and she does this really big, like, oh, you think she's burping. It's so low, like you don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's right. You get the nodes removed from your throat. Apparently you can hit the bass notes. And that was one of the first critiques from earlier, the first performance. Gail and John were like, oh, girl groups are boring because they can't hit the low notes. But now we have a ringer and Chloe can hit those low notes. So they're all set for finals. And Becca's doing some more soul searching, right? She's had this fallout with Jesse. She really feels bad about that. So she is revisiting The Breakfast Club, which is a movie that we covered and did 5 cocktails for. So you should definitely go back and listen to that because there were some good ones. And The Breakfast Club is a good movie, and Becca is starting to realize this because he tries to watch it with her earlier, and Becca's like, blah, 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 blah. She's being all Becca about it, but Jesse's like, no, this is really good, and this, and has this song in it, and it launched the career for Simple Minds, all this stuff. He's way into it. So she's watching the movie, and then we're going to finals, and when it's time for the Bellas to perform, they're going to do a matchup. And that mashup is going to include Don't You Forget About Me, which is awesome. It's an awesome rendition, and it is an awesome way to apologize to Jesse for being such a big jerk.
That's right. And of course, at the end, she's waiting for Jesse to kind of lift his hand up, just like they do in the final scene, right? And he finally does, and she's so happy. And they do these really cool, like, different, like the song itself, it's a mashup of a ton of different things, but at the end it's like they've come full circle. And one thing that's really cool about this too is their costuming. So I don't know how they did this, if they went to all of the actors and was like, hey, your characters best, have them wear whatever they want, go put something together yourself, or if they actually curated those costumes for them. I'd love to know if anybody does know, because everybody's not wearing the same thing. They're all wearing something else. And so you've got Fat Amy is like wearing this really cool kind of black one shoulder kind of silk thing. Becca's looking amazing in these like sailor pants. Aubrey starts wearing like her entire suit, and then by the end of it, she's wearing like a crop top and like some pants. It's amazing. Everybody's just having a really good time. Of course, Esther Dean is wearing the coolest suit I've ever seen on a human. It's amazing. And they're all dancing and singing, and it's just awesome. And it's really good.
It is really good. So they perform, they do an awesome job. They go back out into the audience, where Becca and Jesse get to come together and share a kiss. And I really like, this is probably the best like filmatic themed part of the movie, because they're getting ready to announce the winner, and then it cuts to next year's sort of auditions, where everyone was auditioning last year singing the Kelly Clarkson song. They're getting ready to do that, and the MCs of this event are like, okay, and the winners from last year's ICCAs or whatever get to pick the audition song. And then it goes to Becca, and she says, let's sing, and then it cuts to the Pitch Perfect title, which is how it ends. And it ends very abruptly but very coolly. I really like the way that is done, and that is Pitch Perfect. It is a good time. So Michaela, Pitch Perfect, 10 years old. Tell us about it.
So I watched this in the theaters because I have no life, and 10 years ago, how old was I? I was like 30. I was still young, hot and happening, and I thought that this would be fun. And you know what? I was right. It's PG-13. I think that's a little, I really think it's a good PG-13, because I wouldn't necessarily want my 7-year-old kid to watch it. There's nothing there's no nudity, and there's not a lot of bad language, but there's a lot of sexual connotations. So if that's going to bother you, make sure you just know that going in. I really love this film. It's a film that if it's on, I will watch it. I definitely think it's the best out of the three. There's three Pitch Perfects that are out there that talk about what happens between Becca, Fat Amy, Chloe, and Aubrey, and all of the Barton Bellas. And I do think that this one is the best one. I like the music. Yeah, it's a good, solid film. I mean, Anna Kendrick is just amazing, and she's gone on to do even bigger and better things. And so is Rebel Wilson. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And this movie, it did really well at the box office. It spawned two sequels, which is really pretty cool. And then yeah, this one's coming up on its 10th anniversary, so it's going to be back in some select theaters, I think, this week if you're listening to this. So keep an eye out for that if you want to go see it on the big screen. But yeah, this isn't a movie that I'm super familiar with. Before we decided to cover this one, we were talking about it, and I'd said that I had never seen it. I was telling Michaela that I'd never seen it, but that's not true because I was watching it again. I'm like, this seems really familiar, so I must have seen it at some point. But yeah, it's just a really good kind of lighthearted college movie. It has some good singing. The acting is good because the cast is great. I really like Aubrey, Anna Camp. I really like her and everything she does. I know her most probably from True Blood. Anna Kendrick is great, of course. Brittany Snow, great. And then, yeah, you get Benji, who's this oddball. One of the things that I really like about this is that all these kids, which is different than reality when you go to college, all these kids are so confident in what they can do and what they can bring to the world, and are like so comfortable, like even like in the shower scene when Chloe goes into Becca and she's like, oh yeah, I'm very comfortable with all of this, as they're just standing there naked. You have Benji is super confident in his self. He doesn't care that he's into magic. He's so confident in it, and I think that that's really cool, especially for high school kids who probably this was probably geared at to be. You could be all of these things. You could be into making weird music beats, or you could be into Star Wars and magic, or you could be into chasing after this. Just do it confidently, and I think that that's pretty cool and a good message from Pitch Perfect.
I have to agree. I mean, I will say, Fat Amy was very inspirational to me when they're doing the riff off, and she's like slapping her belly as if like, bring it. And she doesn't care. And I love it at the end. She actually is like, y'all are very skinny, but I feel like you have very fat hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, like that's what it's about, is just being big hearted. Right. And every person, whether they were in the Barton Bellas or the Trebles or the other two, everybody ended up finding a place.
Mm-hmm.
And the only one that ended up being alone was Bumper, who was a jerk. And so very exciting there. That's the way it should actually be. And the good thing about these sorts of things and these sorts of movies is after watching them, you can be part of making that a reality, right?
Yeah, that is right. Absolutely. Yeah, so this movie, pretty good. I really like Galen John, Elizabeth Banks, and John Michael Higgins, because they're kind of this quippy, comedic kind of stuff, in this very campy, kind of self-aware movie, and they're just kind of calling out the facts and really emphasizing that this is campy and very self-aware. So I like them a lot too. So yeah, that is Pitch Perfect. So let us know at home if you saw Pitch Perfect, if you saw Pitch Perfect 2 and 3, which of the three is the best. Do we need a Pitch Perfect 4? Let us know all that. And if you need some juice to help this ginger get her jiggle on, you got to do that. So mix up one of those and let us know how you like that, because it is delicious and easy to throw together. So let us know all of that stuff. You can do it on our Instagram and Twitter. It is at Drink the Movies, and on Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. If you want to see pictures of our cocktail, episode recaps, all the past episodes, all that stuff, that's on our website, which is www.drinkthemovies.com. And Michaela, I don't know, we could sing, but I don't know if we could make it to the ICCA finals without some help from our friends leaving reviews.
That's right. So everybody should head on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Good Pods or Stitcher, anywhere where Anchor podcasts are distributed. And please leave us a 5-star review, subscribe to our little show. We have 2 drops a week. They're really fun. We really enjoy the community that we're building, and it's amazing. And I won't sing anymore, but I will say it really helps us get the Drink the Movies out there. So the more support you give us, that would be amazing. And we're just very excited to continue the Drink the Movies love.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And, Michaela, we did musicals. Last week we did Trolls. This week we did Pitch Perfect. But next week we're getting into Halloween, so we are going to have to exercise some musical demons, and bring everyone Poltergeist. It's time to get into the season. We've got our pumpkin spice latte from the lobby bar. We've got some other spooky treats coming up here this month as we're getting into Halloween. We're going to be doing all of our Halloween themed things here over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully heading out to see Poltergeist in the movie theater next week. So keep an eye out for that, everyone, and keep an eye out for some more good cocktails coming your way next time on
Drink
Drink the
the
Movies.
movies. I'm gonna finish him like a cheesecake.
Bulletproof.